Why isn't my son's wife here?
Well, she's not family, so it's no surprise, right?
She is probably off working some shady job.
At Mark's question, my mother-in-law Olivia chuckles as if to mock him, thinking it's a moot point. Following suit, Mark's son Johnson adds another comment and laughs gleefully. Surprised, Mark's eyes widen at the scene. Olivia explains to Mark the reason I'm not there, all while grinning. Hearing this, Mark's anger reaches its boiling point and a loud slap resonates through the hall.
Mom!
What are you doing?
Olivia and Johnson have lost it.
Mark shouts, filling the funeral home with his voice. I am Mia, a 40-year-old housewife married to Johnson for 15 years. Our marriage was happy in the beginning, but for the past few years, laughter has been scarce. The first 10 years were pure bliss. Olivia and I got along and my relationship with Johnson was good. But when I turned 35, tragedy struck.
You have esophermia.
Upon hearing the doctor's words, Johnson and I were speechless. 10 years of marriage and no children? Naturally, we were getting anxious. Was I the infertile one? So gathering courage, I convinced Johnson, and we both went to an infertility clinic. To our surprise, the issue was male infertility. We were too shocked to react. We discussed infertility treatment and future steps with the doctor, but realized that due to costs, my age, and potential risks, it may not be safe. Still, we had to decide whether to proceed with treatment.
Go home and discuss this thoroughly,
the doctor advised. That night, Johnson and I decided against the treatment. We had already been married for 10 years. I was past 30. Considering the risk of pregnancy and childbirth, we chose not to proceed.
I would rather not have kids if it means losing you,
Johnson said, so we abandoned the treatment. However, I didn't notice it at the time, but I didn't realize what Johnson was really plotting. Time passed, and when I was 37, Johnson suddenly proposed that we live with his mother.
Mom's mobility is limited, and she's finding it hard to manage even simple household chores or shopping. Can we live together?
I saw no reason to refuse. Our relationship with Olivia had been fine up until then. If it made Olivia's life easier, I wasn't complaining. But that's when the nightmare began.
Mia, the seasoning in this dish is too strong. Is this how you always cook?
It was the first day I took over dinner since we moved in. Upon tasting the soup, Olivia made a remark that left me frozen.
Overall, it's too salty and soy sauce heavy. Then on the other hand, the chicken satay is incredibly sweet. Could Johnson's infertility be because of eating like this?
I couldn't comprehend the barrage of words coming out of Olivia's mouth. What is she talking about? Why is she saying these things to me? Olivia suddenly changed and I couldn't hide my surprise. But that was just the beginning.
The food is inedible.
With that, Olivia started dumping the food I had made into the sink. She picked up everyone's plates and began tossing them in the trash one by one. I was so taken aback by her terrible behavior that I raised my voice. Mother-in-law, what are you doing?
Don't call me mother-in-law. I am not Mia's mom. Call me by my name, will you?
A cold and stern gaze met my eyes. Her tone was icy, making me feel like I was less than human.
Still can't believe my son is infertile. Are you sure it's not actually your fault?
What? We showed you the medical reports.
So what? You're saying it's my son's fault? You know how well I've taken care of Johnson and how nutritious his meals have been.
That seemed to be the last straw for Olivia. She hurled a plate at me. The plate shattered on the floor, scattering pieces everywhere.
I don't believe it. If Johnson can't have kids, it's because you have ruined his health.
Could this really be happening? The words coming out of Olivia's mouth were unbelievable. Did I ruin Johnson? Was it my fault Johnson was unhealthy? Tears welled up in my eyes as I considered this.
If you're going to cry and regret it, then take responsibility and look after our family. You ruined Johnson's life, so the least you can do is make up for it.
Olivia sneered as she said this, then started cooking without cleaning up the mess. All the while, she kept complaining about her sore feet treating me like a servant. I couldn't bear this life any longer. That night, I decided to talk to Johnson.
Mom said that? Stop kidding. She would never say something like that.
Johnson dismissed me as he hung up his suit. Instead of listening to me, he acted like I was lying, but I pressed on. It's true. Olivia really did that to me. But Johnson sighed deeply before I could continue.
Look, you agreed to live together. Just get along. Mom's been tough because she wants grandkids. Try to be more understanding. I'm busy with work and can't take care of this.
With that, Johnson left the conversation and disappeared into the living room. There, Olivia and Johnson were talking behind my back. Not wanting to hear it, I retreated to the bedroom and cried into the night. And so, my hellish life began. Day after day, I felt like my dignity was being stripped away, even to the point of physical abuse. I had thought about divorce more times than I could count. But both my parents had passed away early, and I have no siblings. I had no one to turn to and no income as a stay-at-home wife. Considering everyday expenses, I couldn't muster the courage to get a divorce. Dark thoughts crossed my mind frequently. Olivia's time is also limited. Just endure it. I thought, this too shall pass. So I gritted my teeth and went on with my life. Then something happened. Johnson's grandmother, who had been hospitalized, passed away yesterday. As we prepared for the funeral, Olivia gave me a stern warning.
Mia, please prepare coffee and do chores in the back. Don't show your face at the funeral.
Why can't I?
Just as I said, I'll handle our relatives. You're an outsider. We don't need you here.
Are you kidding me?
Do you think you're part of this family? Apart from being a housekeeper, you mean nothing. Don't assume you're welcome here, got it?
I couldn't find the words to respond to Olivia's icy remarks. Who knows what she would say next? I had grown afraid of her. If I stood up to her, I was sure I would face even worse treatment at home. Somebody help me! I can't stand this life anymore. I want to run away, escape from all of this. Crying inside, I did as I was told, unaware of what would unfold at the funeral hall.
Hey, where's Mia? Where did she go?
In the hall, father-in-law Mark was managing the funeral. Mark usually volunteers and is rarely home. Today, he made it back for his mother's funeral. I had barely talked to Mark because he leaves for work as soon as he returns home, but whenever he saw me, he always smiled and expressed his gratitude.
I'm glad you're the wife of such a foolish son. Please take care of the family while I'm away.
He probably had no idea of the life I was leading. That's why Mark's smile was my only comfort. His kindness was a reminder that not everyone was against me.
Where's Mia? Maybe she's around somewhere.
Olivia responded dismissively.
Why isn't my son's wife here?
She's not family, so obviously she's not here.
That useless woman is probably doing chores in the back.
Upon hearing Mark's words, Olivia scoffed as if to mock him. Johnson gleefully chimes in as if riding the wave of the moment. Mark's eyes widen, clearly puzzled by what he's seeing.
Olivia and Johnson, what are you even saying?
Well,
isn't Mia just a housekeeper who's helping out with mom's care?
Exactly. We can't just invite someone like that to a family-only funeral. Stop making us state the obvious.
Mark's response is a loud slap that reverberates in the air.
Mom!
What the hell are you doing?
Olivia and Johnson have lost it.
Mark shouts, his voice echoing through the funeral hall.
You think you would be where you are without whose help?
I heard Mark's voice even while I was doing some chores in the back, making me jolt as I was washing a teacup. Did I just hear Mark? I contemplate going to the hall. But the words Mia said earlier make me hesitate. I don't want to get yelled at. Suddenly, the door bursts open. Startled, I let out a small shriek. An anxious staff member walks in. You're part of the family, right? Could you please help us settle a problem? What's going on? I don't know. Just come to the hall. Apparently, there is no time to explain, so I am hastily escorted to the hall. As soon as we arrive, I see a few male relatives holding Mark back. Mark, what happened?
Mia, why didn't you speak up?
I rush over to Mark, who shakes off the men and grasps my shoulder. His grip is so strong that my body instinctively flinches. My body flinched, and before I knew it, I started trembling from fear. Mark, noticing my tremble, loosens his grip and looks at me with concern.
Upon closer look, Mia, why do you look like that? Has Olivia and Johnson done something to you?
Mark? Mark looks at me with concern, not the anger I had anticipated. I also look up in surprise, and his warm gaze makes my tense body relax a bit.
I'm sorry, Mia. I had no idea what you were going through when I was not at home.
Still not fully understanding the situation, Mark bows deeply to me. I panic at the sudden turn of events and tell him to look up. Emma, a relative who saw this, speaks with concern. Mia, has Olivia and Johnson been bullying you all this time? How did you know?
They just admitted it. They said they have been making you do chores.
When I looked at Olivia, she was crouching on the ground holding her cheek. Johnson stood next to her looking concerned. So what happened?
I was asking Olivia and Johnson why I didn't see you at the funeral. Then they started mocking you, calling you just a housekeeper.
And then Ma got so mad that he slapped Olivia. I was surprised by Emma's awkward smile and turned my gaze towards Olivia's cheek. Her cheek was slightly red from the slap, and she was covering it with one hand to hide the redness and pain. However, Mark was still glaring at Olivia and Johnson as if he wasn't done yet.
What's the big deal? It's true. She came here to take care of me, and she can't even handle the household chores. She's nothing but a nuisance. How can I call someone like that family?
What do you mean, not family? What nuisance are you talking about? What has Mia ever done?
Well, that's...
She can't even cook properly, and she moved in to take care of Mom but causes her nothing but trouble.
Johnson cut in, unable to watch anymore. However, that just made Mark even angrier.
Johnson, has Olivia's cooking ever been good? How bad do you think it is?
Mark's unexpected words froze the atmosphere. He continued,
The food is terrible, the ironing is poor, and the cleaning is sloppy. The only thing I'm grateful for is that she gave birth to and raised Johnson. There is nothing else.
Mark's explosive words wouldn't stop, as if he was venting decades of frustration.
Mia's cooking was always so delicious. Johnson, you've been raised by Olivia, so of course, you have no taste.
The public lecture unfolded in front of all the relatives. Olivia's face turned redder and redder with shock and humiliation. Johnson also blushed from shame and embarrassment, hiding behind Olivia.
That our home is still standing is proof enough that Mia is doing a great job.
Can you even be grateful for someone who can't have children?
Well, it might not even be my fault.
With that, Mark swung his fist down onto Johnson's head with full force.
What are you doing? I never thought I would seriously swing a fist at someone at this age. Good thing I'm not 10 years younger. I would have cracked your skull.
Saying that, Mark shook his fist as if to lessen the pain.
The medical results are out. What nonsensical things are you saying?
Well, maybe we can't trust that doctor.
So, you want to get a second opinion? If the results are the same, how are Olivia and Johnson planning to take responsibility?
As Mark screamed these words, Olivia looked too timid to retort. Johnson's wife is truly a good person. She has always been considerate since she came here. Even our grandmother appreciated her concern for her bad leg. Emma's kind words brought tears to my eyes. For the first time in my life where it seemed no one would ever help, a glimmer of light appeared. Then Mark took a deep breath to calm himself and spoke.
I am quitting my volunteer job and coming back home. I can't leave it to Olivia and Johnson anymore. I won't allow any more harm to come to Mia. Understood?
With those stern words from Mark, Olivia and Johnson nervously replied, settling the tense atmosphere. After that, Mark quit his job and started staying at home.
Don't worry about taking care of Olivia. I've got this. Use this time to focus on yourself.
He reassured me, and since then, I have been able to have some me time, and my stress levels have dropped. Johnson seems to be scared of Mark, but he's become really kind to me too. Still, I can't help but worry about what would happen if Mark were no longer here. But it seems Mark had already thought of that, saying,
If anything happens to me, you can count on our relative Emma.
And Emma told me, you can rely on me anytime, giving me the comfort of knowing I'm not alone, and I started to find my smile again.